Former FBI Director James Comey was fired by Donald Trump almost a year ago, and tonight, ahead of the release of his new memoir, A Higher Loyalty, ABC will air Comey's first interview, covering everything from Russian meddling in the U.S. election to the now notorious P-tape.
And then he says something that distracted me, because he said, if there's even a 1% chance my wife thinks that's true, that's terrible. And I remember thinking, how could your wife think there's a 1% chance you were with prostitutes peeing on each other in Moscow?
Yep. Trump responded to Comey's book by calling him an untruthful slimeball. He went on a tweet storm this morning and, as his allies, launched ads and a website attacking Comey. Comey's firing is the basis for special counsel Robert Mueller's obstruction of justice case against Trump. The book's release comes on the heels of Trump's refusal to be interviewed by Mueller, which itself followed an extraordinary raid of Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen. I'm joined by former Watergate special prosecutor Jill Wine-Banks, she's in Chicago, and Politico's national security editor and senior foreign affairs correspondent Michael Crowley. He's in D.C. So, Michael, I'm going to start with you. I can't believe that I'm actually asking you about a president with a P-tape. We heard earlier that he apparently asked Comey to look into this. Beyond the sort of salacious nature of this, why does it matter?
Well, look, fundamentally, the question we're all wrestling with here is whether the Russian government has some kind of hidden sway over President Donald Trump. Does President Donald Trump fear that the Russians have something on him that they could disclose to humiliate him and destroy his presidency, which is affecting his approach to U.S.-Russia relations?
It really does appear, Jill, as if there is a gathering storm. There's the raids on his lawyer's office. Mueller, we're hearing, is getting ready to hand over his report on obstruction of justice. There's a Rosenstein firing in the air. Does Mueller have the goods? Is he getting ready to pounce? Where are we? Where's this going to go?
I think that if Mueller has the goods, he might consider an indictment, which I believe is constitutionally permissible. If he's issuing a report, that would suggest to me that he is going the route of impeachment, which I have some political concerns will never happen because of the bipartisan or lack of bipartisanship in our Congress.
I'm waiting for the next shoe to drop. There are a lot of threads that Mueller is investigating. It's really kind of getting difficult to keep up. His tentacles are going in so many directions, and we are all on tenterhooks here waiting for the next set of indictments.
A very clear theme that came across, Michael, was this idea that Comey saying that he got the sense he was supposed to almost kiss the ring of the president, that he was supposed to be submissive to him, to serve him. There's this quote, this president is, from the book, this president is unethical and untethered to truth and institutional values. His leadership is transactional, ego-driven, and about personal loyalty, a very different role than we've ever heard coming out of the White House for a president.
Absolutely. Actually, I think the most breathtaking lines compare the president to a mafia don and say that he has this structure around him that's like a kind of a stereotypical Godfather-like mob family, where you have these goons and hangers-on who have sworn loyalty, and they will lie about even the small things out of this larger code of loyalty to the leader. He even describes Trump Tower and some of Trump's surroundings as reminding him of some of the kind of mafia hangouts and clubs that he learned about when he was busting up mob activity himself.
So, Jill, it's one thing to lie. It's something quite else to be involved in organized crime, which is what a mob boss is. Is the Mueller investigation actually looking into organized crime?
Well, not organized crime as in the mafia. It is possible that one of the laws that was designed partly for the mafia, the RICO statute, Racketeer Influenced Corrupt Organization, might be applied to some of the activities, certainly of Michael Cohen, who has recently had his offices and his homes raided.
That's Donald Trump's personal lawyer, right?
Exactly, Donald Trump's personal lawyer. And so if there is an ongoing activity of bank fraud, for example, or mail-in wire fraud, then those are the kind of crimes that can add the penalties of the RICO statute. So it it's organized crime in that way.
I want to turn to something else. During the interview with ABC, Comey talked about how when he told the president and other White House officials about the allegations of Russian meddling and the idea of collusion, that it seemed that they only cared about spin. Here's a clip of him talking about how Trump reacted.
President-elect Trump's first question was to confirm that it had no impact on the election. And then the conversation, to my surprise, moved into a PR conversation about how the Trump team would position this and what they could say about this. They actually started talking about drafting a press release with us still sitting there.
So I'm sure there's always spin that happens, but it makes it sound like the Trump White House, Michael, was more concerned about PR than they were about democracy. Has anything changed, like, in the last year or so?
Well, I would say a couple of things. One is that there is always spin and PR. You would like to think that the spin comes much later, particularly in a case of such a matter of grave national security, and that they would want to let the facts sink in, hash them out, think about the strategic, legal, and security consequences before moving on to how they were going to explain this to the public, and not whether, the U.S. should take retaliatory action and what else might be coming. And this really leaves us with, a question: was there a sense that they didn't care that the Russians had intervened in our election, and really the only question was a political one, not a substantive security one? Or is it possible that Trump and his advisors were not surprised that the Russians had intervened in our election, which of course would be incredibly damning because it would suggest that they had advanced knowledge, ongoing knowledge during the election of what the Russians were up to, and that would be very serious indeed.
Jill, did you ever imagine you would see a day where the former head of the FBI would be saying things like this about a sitting president?
No, I didn't. Or that we would see a president who totally ignores the norms of the office as well as the rules and laws, the emoluments clause. Would I think that we would be sitting on television talking about a P tape? No. Or Stormy Daniels, who was PP in her non-disclosure agreement. And, I can't make this stuff up. And this is not even paying attention to the fact that he is totally not knowledgeable about foreign affairs or anything to do with government. That's a very serious threat where we have him possibly meeting with North Korea. These are serious times for America.
So much to watch for here. Thank you so much, both of you. Jill Wine-Banks and Michael Crowley, thank you.